Okay, so I know a lot of you guys are like wondering like, when am I getting back to the GraphQL? I'm gonna get back to the GraphQL quickly. But there's a problem that people have when they go on these tech interviews. It's one of the problems that interviewers confront people with more often than not, and it will lead to you not getting the job. On top of that, it will lead to you not getting freelance work. And that is not understanding the efficient way to handle images, right? So I know the last video I talked about retain cycle. That's about efficiency of code and creating an app that doesn't crash. Well, same thing goes with the use of images. When you download images, there are multiple problems that can occur, and I'm gonna go over those with you. But most importantly, how do you make an API call in the context of using Swift UI, ASYNC await, and some of these other new technologies? You know, how do I download a whole bunch of images without jamming the main queue? Some of you are probably even thinking, what does this even mean? Well, start at the beginning. Let's start talking about how do we download stuff. And so I'm gonna take you for a walk through TheMoviesDB. TheMoviesDB has an API. I have a project that you can download from my GitHub, and you can use that project and walk through it. But right now, I'm gonna walk through it for you. You can always download the project and walk through it with the video, because you've got to understand this so that you can pass a job interview. And I'm telling you, so many YouTubers who create this type of content, they're not doing this. But I'm gonna show you how to do it. We're gonna discuss exactly what this app does so we can illustrate. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna run this app. And there we go. So all we're gonna be doing is we're gonna basically put in a word, and I'm gonna say lethal weapon. And we get all the pictures from all the lethal weapons in TheMoviesDB. See? Road Warrior. Road Warriors. Making of the Road Warrior. Warrior Road. Road Warriors, Mad Max 2, okay, Alienoid, This is the information that it returns from the API call that we made. So, yeah, so we're going to get into it. All right, so we have you go to themoviesdb.org. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create an account and get our key and our bearer token that we're going to pass. So, I'm going to log in. This is my account, and what you need to do is you need to go to the bottom. Okay, first of all, to generate your token settings. Oh, kill me. All right. Then what you need to do is go to API, and under API key, there's API key and API read access token. Your API read access token is where you're going to have your token. Okay. And if you want to see, make sure it works, you want to do this. You're going to go back down here, API. Then you're gonna go to API reference. And in API reference, you're gonna get all of this. Okay, your header, this is your, again, this is a copy of your bearer token that you had found back in settings. You wanna try it, everything's in here, your authorization, try it, and you get success, status code 1, success. You know, you look at your requests, status code of 200. That means everything is a-okay, 100%. All right, and really, that's all you need to get started. Okay, now, in this video, we're gonna talk about the problems with downloading the images. You saw the app running. Let's talk about the problems with downloading the images using a RESTful response. All right. So you have performance issues. And in order to address this, there are multiple things that SwiftUI has incorporated to help address these things. Okay. So one is lazy loading. We have multiple images in an app that are being downloaded. You can have memory problems, or you can have performance problems, such as slow scrolling, right? And that's where the lazy VStack comes in hand. Okay, the lazy VStack, it loads these images lazily, which means the images are not actually loaded into the view until they're needed. Another thing we have is async image, right? So SwiftUI has created the async image object, and basically this async image is used to download multiple images asynchronously, which means you have multiple images that need to be rendered simultaneously, and they're done in parallel. None of them interfere with the loading process of the other. That's what asynchronous means. Multiple downloads happening in parallel. Another problem you can have is image size. So you want to manage memory. And in order to manage memory, one aspect is making sure that the image is a certain size so you aren't using unnecessary resources. Right here, we have the frame. And what this does is it makes sure that the height is 200, no matter what. So we aren't rendering something that's unnecessarily big. That takes more memory than necessary. Another thing is planning for network failure, right? Again, in the async image, we have case, phase, and if it's empty, we have the progress view. The progress view is running. That's a little turning thing. The little turning thing that you see when the image hasn't fully loaded to show that it's working. That's the progress view. But when it's succeeded, then you have your image, and we make it resizable, and we affect the aspect ratio. And of course, the frame is, the height is 200 always. Okay. Then we have failure. If it fails, we have a photo image, right? It's a regular photo image, and it's called by default. Otherwise, we have this default. Some unknown situation happens. Again, the default photo image. And so, yeah. And we're going to get into all of this when we look into the code. And that's it. Hey, what's going on? If you like this content, if this content is valuable, if it's making you a better developer in any way, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to give you guys the things that you need to go out here and ace these interviews, because you aren't getting this stuff anywhere else. So again, if you find this content valuable, please like and subscribe so that I can make more content for you.
Okay, so let's talk about the files in our project. This is our project, the Search Movies project. And to start at the top level, or the level that everyone's most familiar with. First of all, let's say this. We're going to adhere to the MVVM design pattern, which means model, view, view model. So right here, we have, this is our view in our views directory. This is our view model, okay? And this is our model. Along with this, we have a networking service protocol that returns a movie search object, right? And of course, this is our movie search object. Okay, this is our movie service that our networking service protocol. This is the protocol that our networking service adheres to. So I'm going to explain to you guys, in case you don't understand protocols. I think I've explained this in another video, but I'm going to re-explain it again in this video. A protocol is merely a piece of code that is for organizing purposes. And it allows us to set up a situation where we can, we can test things. We can make mock objects to test certain functionality, right? So basically, wherever we plug this networking service into, we can plug another mock object that doesn't have a real networking service. All it has to do is conform to this networking service protocol, which means it has what? Just the fetch data function, right? This is the fetch data function right here. Yeah, so but that's a whole nother conversation. Let's get into this and talk about the content view. This is the field that you see. So you saw the text field, right? Text field with a search button on it. Okay, and that button had a magnifying glass. So this is that button right here. Okay, and matter of fact, let's see if do we have this thing still up? Yes, we have it still up. So let's compare this side by side, right? We have our text field, which is right there. We have our image magnifying glass, which is right there. And we have our returned a list of movie titles with the images. Okay. Now, I don't want to run this again right now because I do not I have removed the bearer token. Okay. I'll remove the bearer token, and I'll explain that later. But what you're gonna get is you're gonna get this version off of GitHub, and you're gonna go create your own project. Then you have to go into the system settings like I showed you. If you forgot what I'm talking about, you have to go earlier into this video and it will show you. You need to go get your bearer token, or the key the token that you use for a bearer token, and put it here. Then run your app and it should work perfectly. Right now, there's no token. So why did I do it this way? Well, this is the result. It's called environment dependency injection is used in Swift UI. There are multiple types, right? There's environments, there is initializer, there's method, and method dependency injection. Environment, initializer, and method in dependency injection. And all dependency injection means is the very important methods that you need in your app. Well, you have to find a way to supply them the things that they need. For example, I have to be able to supply a token to my networking service, right? And this is how I do it. I do this by method. And I pass it here to this, well, not by method, I'm sorry, by initializer. And I pass here in this initializer, right? But everything else is done by environment object. This is your environment object, your content view. So let's go to your content view and look at it. And this right here, environment object, networking service, right? Networking service, right there. So you pass it, this networking service, and you know, you can pass the networking service to, where am I using it? Let me move this out of the way. And this is where I'm using it, right here. On appear, I pass the networking service to the view model. And then I also pass the base URL. I probably shouldn't do it exactly this way, but this is for the purpose of simplicity, right? This is property. This is property dependency injection. So I pass these as properties. And let's go into our view model. Right here. And these are all, and how I do this and not make this with the initializer is I have these all to have a default value, and you can pass them later, right? So the networking service and the URL, those are the two things that this view model needs. Networking service and a view model, right? And then once those are fulfilled, I can come right here into my method and use them immediately. Because guess what? I have a networking service, I have a URL. Now run this in the async await. I use this task block instead of an escaping closure. And again, if you're confused about it, you can download this code from GitHub. Okay. Here's another constructor for the URLs for the images. Okay, so our view model is explained. Our view is explained. Now let's go to our model. This model is what we're going to use to parse the data that we get back from our API call. Simple as that, right? And we just want particular properties, original title, and poster path. That's really all we want. That's it. Original title, poster path, and that's what we have displayed. But as you can see, there's a lot more data that we can use. Okay. So let's go back here. Talk about a networking service. Actually, let's go back. Let's talk about our content view, because our content view is very important. This is what we're going to use. So I talked about problems we have with downloading images. So right here, if viewModel.is loading, right? If this is loading, we want all this running, okay? If this is loading, the progress view with some padding. Else, that means else is not loading because either it failed or we're retrying. You know, we have our lazy stack. Lazy stack, what is lazy stack for? It's for asynchronous downloads, right? So that nothing blocks the queue and we're doing multiple things simultaneously. And nothing blocks the queue. I've already explained this. And that's how that works. Another thing you'll find in your networking service, this is what you use to fetch data, right? I'm going to show you something. Let's look at this fetch data with retry. Okay, let me see something. Let's see, fetch data with retry. So we have this right here, fetch data with retry, and then we have it called in our view model. So we have our content view model, we call search movies. It immediately does fetch data with retry. Okay. Now you notice something. When we fetch data with retry, basically it makes an attempt. If it doesn't work, we wait a little bit. And we try again. Right? Fetch data with retry. I'll show you something. C, F, B. So we do fetch data with retry. Then we're going to attempt again, fetch data. Right? So we make multiple attempts at fetching the data before we call it a day. So now, I've rerun our app. I put in my my token, and let's call this what? Lethal weapon. And we have this. And yeah, so I want you guys to remember, I've done this with async await, no combine, no escape enclosures. There are a lot of good practices I put in here. Remember, this is an example of environment dependency injection. And within our view, I do have some property dependency injection. And so, yes, and that wraps it up. Don't forget to go to GitHub, download this project, go over and study it because this is important. On to the next.